You know what? I forgot to change my, what do you call this? The episode numbers again. Welcome to episode 378. Okay, now it's changed. Welcome. It is Saturday. Nothing is happening. Literally nothing is happening. It's so annoying. This time I was on time, I promise, and I was researching for over 2 hours. Still literally nothing. But still, we will discuss the stuff that is going on, whatever we could find, scraping the bottom of the barrel for news. But there is still some interesting topics I want to cover for today, so we will be getting into that. First of all, Trump tripling down on the tariffs. Yeah, we know he found the loophole yesterday. We discussed how the tariffs under the IEEPA or whatever it was. Yeah, we don't have to get or follow those rules under that ruling. We found different subsections of different acts that we could place the tariffs under, so all tariffs remain in effect. And on top of that, as a slap in the face to all the people that opposed tariffs, you now get a 10% tariff on top of whatever was added globally. And now, Trump tripled down on that and said, you know what? Forget the 10%. We're doing 15%. That happened today, okay? Just out of the blue. Waiting till, the stock market closes to announce a little bit higher percent of a tariff. But the crypto market remained unfazed. Wow, what a surprise for once. I don't know. Back in my days, back in October, we would crash 80% over this kind of news. Seems like this time around, nothing happened. Great. I mean, I don't mind it. I don't want anything to happen. But it just goes to show, like, why didn't we crash this time around? Is it because we've already anticipated the worst? Is it because we just literally cannot go down any further? We're already pricing in World War III at this point. I feel like we are, honestly. Right now, with all these talks with Iran and the United States, I don't think it should be a big surprise if a war actually does break out. Now, that doesn't mean we're not going to crash. We still will. But it's not going to be as severe, I don't feel like. We're not over-leveraged. We shouldn't be, at least. And, a lot of people are already out. Bear market is in. Are we going to bottom out over here? Maybe one more dip before we eventually rise. I did some research as well on the AI. I asked, is there anything important happening in the crypto industry right now? Short answer is no. The crypto market is in a bear phase. Bitcoin around 68,000, down sharply from its 2025 highs. Worst yearly start in over a decade. And the searches for Bitcoin to zero is at record highs amid volatility. And I have a post talking about that too, which we will get into. For now, I mean, we do have the tariff announcements from Trump causing turbulence. Supreme Court ruled some illegal. But, instead of the 10%, now we have a 15% global tariff that has been signed. And crypto is surprisingly holding steady despite the risks. Other stuff, I guess, Vitalik, Japan, the SEC may be dropping cases and stablecoin capital treatment. No massive breakout event right now. It's mostly correction and macro pressure. Okay, fear levels are at a maximum too, or minimum. Maximum. Fear and greed chart is at a minimum, lowest point ever, which we will be discussing as well. I have another chart on that. So what really is going on? What do we need? What can we get to expect a really nice breakout? Well, nothing as of right now. Maybe that Clarity Act that we've been discussing. Some analysts see a potential bounce or a March rally to 100k plus. Others warn we could just continue dropping to like 56k, 60k on macro pressure, weak demand. So right now, like in terms of timing, it's not that easy to figure out. And that's the beauty of the bear market, is that both bulls and bears will be wrong a lot. It's going to be really difficult to kind of time the exact best entry point, the exact bottom. Where is the bottom going to be? Nobody really knows. Best thing to do right now, my humble opinion, DCA on spot with a steady income, which that is why I have not rage quit my job yet. I'm suffering through it, but it's for the greater good. It's necessary. And it should pay off at the end of the day, right? That's why we do this. That's why we suffer through all of this. That's fine. Dude, I'm 24 years old. What am I doing? Anyway. Lovely. So what are we at right now? Bitcoin's price, 68,000 flat. Lovely. Super trend has dropped to 70,900, right where the fib level of 70,800 is. You're basically looking at a 71,000 resistance. Maybe this continues to drop. Wouldn't surprise me. Obviously, you do have the 70,000 level there, but I feel like 71,000 might be slightly more important, especially because of this little blip up here, where we hit 70,900, our highest point in the last 10 days. On February 15 is what we hit this. That's 6 days ago. I literally cannot do math. Hey, 10 days is still correct. I don't know. Do you really want to count this to the 72,000? That's the level that I was originally looking at. We never really got the rise up there. We clearly had a resistance at 71,000. So it seems like that's what we're looking at for now. And you have the Fibonacci level there to kind of support that theory. Great. My chart is frozen. Okay, there we go. Where is this line drawn from? I literally do not remember where I drew this from. So I drew it from bear market bottoms, absolute bottoms, November 2022 to all-time high Bitcoin, October 2025. These are the levels to expect for, I guess, a drop. So that means, I guess, the 71,000 is not really a resistance. It's kind of like a support that becomes resistance, but I mean, we really did not even use it as that much of a support. I mean, if you're looking at this on the weekly chart, it seems like we immediately bled right through that. If anything, we're probably going to focus more on the 57,000 Fibonacci support bounce, potentially, right? Now, I do expect a short-term breakout, which, you know, could give us a good rise. Don't know how high. If people are expecting 100K by March, that might be too bullish, maybe, just maybe. And if it does happen, I mean, you're expecting the weekly super trend to flip around. And I think that is a little bit too early to be doing that kind of a move. Now, what do I expect is maybe a rise to potentially 80,000. That's still on the table for me for the next upcoming weeks. I'd give it till a maximum of around basically March, right? By March, for sure, we should get our little dead cat bounce to potentially 80,000 as a resistance. Now from there, if we do continue rising, good, I wouldn't mind that either. But it depends wherever the super trend kind of slows down at, wherever this kind of flatlines to, right? Could be 90,000. Right now it's at 95,000. We're going to have to wait and see how that continues to play out on a macro scale. So we're talking about weeks to months from now. People are also expecting, I don't know, an actual Bitcoin bear market bottom in around like November or stuff like that. I feel like that's too far out, too far ahead to be expecting that. Why do I expect a rise by March? I mean, it kind of does make sense if Jerome Powell will be leaving. We're expecting, or I don't even know, are people really expecting Kevin Warsh to cut rates? I am, but a lot of other people are not, due to his hawkish stance in the past. But like I said, I think he's a changed man. I think he will be more willing to cut rates, and Trump better appoint someone who is willing to cut the rates. But as we talked about in yesterday's economic data that we got, stagflation, the talks of that are back on the table, which is annoying. I also hate stagflation as much as the next Fed governor sitting right beside me. So it's difficult on how to manage the economy during that sense. Do we keep inflation on the rise to save the job market? Or do we not cut rates, let inflation cool down first, but watch the whole job market suffer? That's the stagflation part of it all, right? Which one do you balance first? Hey man, good thing I haven't been hired to do that. I've only been hired to sit in my bedroom and laugh at them from the comfort of my beautiful desk that can stand up if I want to. Anyway, so that's what I think about it. That's the whole scale of things. That's where we are at right now. I just thought it would be nice to kind of zoom out, review what we are expecting. That's what I see for the crypto markets for now. Bit more choppiness, bit more flatlining over here, and it's boring, it's annoying, I get it, but we're in the need of a big catalyst to kind of push markets out. If I ask, when is Clarity Act expected to get signed? Is that even the right terms to use? I think AI will understand. The Clarity Act is stalled in the Senate over stablecoin yield debates, with the White House pushing for a compromise by March 1st. Hey, that would also line up perfectly with a potential March rise. Key predictions: Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse gives it an 80 to 90% chance of signing by the end of April 2026. Great. Senator Bernie Moreno and Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong, possible by April if a deal is reached. Come on, Brian. Just agree to whatever the terms are. But obviously, Brian, we've talked about this before. Like, Brad Garlinghouse thinks, you know what? I don't care what gets signed as long as it does get signed. Don't care who gets benefited or who gets taken advantage of. Brian Armstrong, on the other hand, is like, no, hold on. We got to make a deal that actually works for the crypto industry too. If not, if it doesn't benefit us in any way, I don't want to hear it. I don't want any participation. I don't want this thing to even exist. So there's like the little deadlock that is in between them. What else do prediction markets say? The odds of those, we've been observing that. Those have been rising. Some spikes are on the rise for the prediction markets of the Clarity Act being signed before June. There's no firm signing date. Hinges on March negotiations and Senate progress. Spring 2026, so likely April, is the consensus window if momentum holds. I do hope so. It would be great. And that, something at that scale, could bring optimism back a little bit, or a lot. Maybe we could see the 100K. Maybe. We're going to need some big moves for that, and we're talking about like breaking a weekly downtrend, which as of right now, I don't know, this is a bit of a sharp decline, wouldn't you agree? I don't know, maybe we rise to wherever heights that is. Even still, that would be like 90-something thousand, wouldn't it? Before, ultimately making another larger drop, if that even is possible at this point. You're kind of expecting the markets to make a move like this. Oh, that's not what I wanted. Hey, stop it. Let me grab this. And then your downtrend would kind of look like this. Sure, that looks like a valid bear market on Bitcoin for the rest of this year, 2026. Until ultimately in 2027, obviously we would have already bottomed out by then. And then we go to, I don't know, Bitcoin 1 million or whatever you want to do. So we'll see how that goes. Lovely. All right. Let's move on to Ethereum. Really not a lot of changes in the rest of the markets. 0% movement for literally everything. Minus 1% if you're lucky. Ethereum's price is not 1,975. Okay. We topped out right over here at 1,995, meaning that obviously 2,000 is the most important resistance for the time being, struggling to even stay above that. Supertrend still on its way down, currently at 2,085 and dropping. We'll see where that decides to flatline. I would expect it to be, anything for next week. Whatever resistance level we get should coincide with this downtrend line that we have on Ethereum, which could help us time by roughly around which date we could see a rise of Ethereum too. I don't expect it to be that high though. Less than 2,100 for sure. That would obviously we would need an absolute breakout of any downtrend from Ethereum to see 2,100 levels from here. So if we do get a rise in Ethereum, I don't think it will be well sustained, and it could potentially lead to a further drop on it as we are to follow this downtrend line, which is not easy to be broken, at least for the time being, because this downtrend line comes from... Actually, yeah, I think it could be easy to be broken, at least in the coming weeks. Maybe the week after that, we get broken out of that downtrend line, but then we have to worry about this one, and then ultimately this massive one right over here. But the good thing is that we do have these enormous uptrends in our favor. That is why I don't expect Ethereum to drop lower than 1,500, and as time goes on, this number will keep increasing. And obviously these downtrend lines are more likely to be broken than these uptrend lines because they are more shallow. These ones are more steep. They're more recent, easier to be broken. That is just price action theory at its finest. So you be the judge. There we go. Let me, whoops, I accidentally opened up the forbidden app. Solana is at 84. Still keeping its little excuse of an uptrend. Yeah, I kind of drew that there. Okay. Good for now, I guess. I'm not complaining. But I still don't think this would be sustainable. And I've mentioned this before. It's because Bitcoin unable to break whatever downtrend line from Supertrend that it currently has, which as of right now we're looking at 71,000 for that. A lot of these altcoins probably not going to keep their uptrends intact. Unless Bitcoin commits a godly reversal and breaks 71,000 like it's nobody's business. And then you'll have confirmation, of course, that altcoins were indeed early to the game and they will continue rising. But for the time being, maybe we either stabilize around here or we just, decay into Supertrend flipping over against us once again. And then you would expect further downside movement, potentially following whatever other downtrends we do have in existence. Why did that move? Lock that in place. All right, moving on. Hey, get out of there. Litecoin, still in its downtrend, literally nothing going on. 54 is the current price of it. Okay. Do we even have anything exciting in the weekly chart other than, this is obviously a bottom? But how low can we truly go? We've seen 40 back in 2022. We have more Litecoin tokens in circulation since 2022. And I don't know, a lot more competition, of course. So that's the challenges that Litecoin does face. Hey, but what about the ETFs that we were getting? Doesn't matter. None of it is saving it. ETFs at this point, it's good that the ability for institutional investing is there. But obviously to a certain extent, like you import the Wall Street, you become the Wall Street. Any geopolitical news will also impact crypto because of that, because yes, they will bring in volume, which is what you need in altcoins for them to see the good volatility, the rises and the drops, but also what influences that volatility would be the macroeconomic factors. The institutional investors see the altcoins as risky assets, and ultimately when it comes to times of crisis, such as World War III, we're getting rid of the fake imaginary internet money and holding on to gold and silver or oil or whatever the case is, because those assets are obviously more important than your favorite altcoin. So yeah, that's just the institutional brain, which fair enough. But in times where risk appetite is there, that's when it shines. And that's what we need. So ultimately, I do not oppose them. Rather, I favor them. Lovely. Hyperliquid, I'm looking at this in the weekly chart. Seems like we indeed did bottom out around 20. This doesn't count. And Hyperliquid is a new coin, so we don't have that much history to go by. But with the recent rise that we hit at 38, almost 40, I think you can see where the downtrend line is looking like in the weekly chart, and it's something that we are to face the reality of soon. I'm more, since we are still in a downtrend weekly chart, I would still point towards the downside for the time being. How low, wherever this uptrend line that is drawn, is where I expect that low to be. Which, that means, I love how this just wiggles that way. Probably around 23. 23 seems reasonable, yes. And we're talking about many weeks from now. Now, obviously Hyperliquid is still great. It will still perform well, even during bear markets, maybe. I don't know. A lot of the trading volume, like I said, it isn't there with ETF interest down. A lot of traders are obviously negative in their Bitcoin or crypto positions, making them not want to trade. Kind of like what I'm at right now. I'm already fully invested and hodling, whatever you want to call it, And I cannot trade. I cannot do the fun stuff. I cannot make massive bets to the upside or to the downside. That is why you don't really see me looking at the smaller time frames anymore. I'm trying to look for the macroeconomic factors, the macro movements, the macro impacts. What can make the price spike up or spike down? And I'm doing that because literally I'm already fully invested in, and I just gotta wait for break even. I don't even want profit. It's like that meme. Oh, of course, I'm kidding, but yeah. 29.81 is the current price of Hyperliquid. Uptrend is still intact and validating at 27.44. That hasn't really changed. Now we do have this downtrend line to worry about now, like I said, and let me just... How far do I have to go here? There we go. Just micro adjust that. Can I just reset chart view? Thank you. Lovely. So that's where this resistance came from, of course. We're going to see where next week pivot levels will be generated. By the way, that will happen tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. New pivot, support, and resistance levels, always important to kind of help you determine where price is supposed to go to. So we're, you know, hovering around high 20s, low 30s for Hyperliquid. I think it will stay that way for a while overall, as this triangle inevitably gets tighter and tighter. And then, I've mentioned this before, shallow uptrend, steeper downtrend. Which one is more likely to be broken? Probably that downtrend. Like the video if you agree. Moving on. Chainlink, $8.84. Also similar to what we're seeing with Solana, by keeping its 4-hour super trend in the green, we kind of see a movement like this. Is it sustainable? Really depends on Bitcoin's movement, and I don't see Bitcoin's movement rising above 71,000, at least for the time being. With this whole Iran situation, apparently we were supposed to strike them tomorrow. Apparently that's not going to happen anymore. Apparently now we're going to have, I don't know, again, it's Thomas Massie Ro Khanna trying to prevent the war from happening. We talked about the post that Thomas Massie put out yesterday on X, asking, do you guys support a war with Iran? It's either yes, no, or what was the third option? It was like military intervention is not a war or something like that. And then, I mean, it started off with like an overwhelming amount of people voting for no, myself included, because I'd rather not go to war and solve it by other means, but whatever. And then suddenly you just had this massive inflow of votes for yes, we do want a war with Iran. And people are like, okay, dude, this is clearly botted. There's no way suddenly 100,000 people decide to vote at the same time and for the yes option on a post, on a poll by Thomas Massie. Clearly botted is what people are saying. Sure, whatever. Make up your mind. Your guess is as good as mine. But yeah, it was pretty funny to see that. Now, those guys, they're trying to also push for no wars. Same with what the Democrats are doing now. Did you guys see what AOC posted? She also said, no war with Iran. Hey, what a change of heart. Kamala Harris would not have done that. But anyway, enough politics. Chainlink, $8.83. I don't think it's sustainable. Great area for accumulation nonetheless. That's it. Moving on. BitTensor, also unsustainable probably. Overshadowed by this downtrend line. Barely trying to keep it together. Barely able to keep it together. It is trying to. Current price is 177. I would expect a drop as low as 161. And see how price behaves over here. Because that is where the uptrend invalidates, at least for the time being. If we do break that, of course, expect a new low, guaranteed, on BitTensor. As sad as it is, as cool as the Bitcoin tokenomics that it has is, it's not going to save it if fundamentals are not there to help it out. And fundamentals for BitTensor, I still think, like, overall are great, but it's just the macroeconomic factors that are pushing the rest of the altcoins down, no matter how good the project. And I say this slightly because of, I don't know, I'm hesitant to say that because Hyperliquid is still doing okay. It's one of the only few that is doing fine. But that's because it's a decentralized exchange as well. BitTensor, not really. Now, I mentioned the Bitcoin tokenomics factor not being able to save it because, well, I mean, Bitcoin itself is not doing well. And also look at something like Zcash, also with Bitcoin tokenomics, but the fundamentals of it just died completely. The whole dev team resigned, everyone went to Monero, privacy narrative is gone, Monero hit an all-time high, and now it's at yearly lows. So what do we even do from here, right? The tokenomics will not really save your coin at this point. I don't think I should delete this. Hold on. I'll just extend the downtrend line to something like that. I think that's reasonable. And if ultimately this was a false breakout as expected by me, thank you, that is obviously if Bitcoin is not able to break above 71,000 and continues its movement toward the downside, something like that, then of course BitTensor would invalidate its uptrend and potentially continue lower and make a new low. How low? I'll wait for next week to tell you. Not next week, tomorrow. Next week pivot levels is what I mean. Moving on. Sui. Same deal with Sui, honestly. 93 cents. It did break above $1, which was interesting to me. Sparked my interest, but at the end of the day, it did not follow through or continue higher. Same deal. Because Bitcoin, it's not really doing the thing with the 70-something thousand anymore. A bit underwhelming. So for the time being, I feel like Sui has false breakout and potentially can head lower. Double bottom first, we'll be testing that at 79. I still firmly believe in that. But of course, testing the uptrend itself, whatever excuse of an uptrend it does have, that will be around 88. So pay attention to 88 first on Sui. Negative funding rate, by the way, if you truly care. It's not even that great. Hedera, 09821. It's still keeping the uptrend intact, barely. I drew this here by accident. Just going to extend it to something like that. I hate to keep extending it, and the more I extend it, the less trust I have in this uptrend line, of course. And same situation. Bitcoin doesn't rise, this will not do anything either. Although Hedera did have a specific rise, right? It was for some reason. I read it on the day it was rising. I forget for now. And here's Monero, 325, and potentially heading lower. Downtrend invalidation, it's also on its way down with it. You have to wait for that to flatline somewhere, so expect maybe more potential downward movement. Very volatile, very, very volatile. Great for trading, but I do not have money, so that's that. Wow, I spent 27 minutes talking about technical analysis on a 0% market day. Huh, alright. I mean, fair enough, I really don't have that much news to cover either, but we still do have stuff to talk about, so let us get into it. Let's get to our news. I have to update the timestamps on my other videos, dude. The responsibility that I have to bear. This was the biggest news that popped out this morning. It made me laugh at my phone. Trump said that he is raising the global tariff rate from 10% to 15%. Wow, what a change of heart. For the better, maybe. He posted this on Truth Social saying, based on a thorough, detailed, and complete review of the ridiculous, poorly written, and extraordinary anti-American decision on tariffs issued yesterday, after many months of contemplation by the United States Supreme Court, what a statement, please let this statement serve to represent that I, as President of the United States of America, will be, effective immediately, raising the 10% worldwide tariff on countries, many of which have been ripping us, the United States, off for decades without retribution until I came along, to the fully allowed and legally tested 15% level. Do you guys notice, like, the sentence structure is so weird? It's like he says, I will be doing something that these guys weren't doing, and also that this thing, and I will also be doing this, and also for this, because of this, and don't forget about this as well. Like, he deviates from the sentences. I'm not a better speaker anyway, so who am I to complain? During the next short number of months, the Trump administration will determine and issue the new and legally permissible tariffs, which will continue our extraordinary, successful process of making America great again, greater than ever before. Great. So, we're rising them from 10% to 15% because we can, after careful consideration. And yeah, that's about it. Okay, cool. Tomorrow it will be 25% or something. We'll see. Trump says that there will be improvements in the US economy, and trust me, they will become visible within a year. You will start to see the results in a year from now, he said. Why can't we see them now, please? Honestly. But hey, maybe now's a great time to buy. Remember when he posted that once? That was crazy. Do we trust this anymore? Maybe. Maybe not. If he mentioned the crypto market will be improved and you'll see the improvements visible within a year, then we would be rejoicing. But no, he just says the overall US economy. I don't know, man. If you check the last reports of the economic data, it's looking like stagflation question is back on the rise. What do we do? Trump obviously still advocates for lowering interest rates to, I don't know, 1%. And, I mean, fair enough. It is costing us trillions in interest payments that we have to cover for the US debt, which is astronomically high. But that's life. This is interesting news that came out today. JP Morgan, the bank, they concede that they closed Trump's accounts after January 6th attack. Remember that? January 6th, 2021? Yeah. When the Trump riots started happening, JP Morgan agrees that, you know what? No, admits, not agrees. They admitted that they closed Trump's bank account. Hey, not cool. But also fair enough. We kind of already knew that, and we also kind of... There was different angles of the censorship as well that was done to Trump. He got banned on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, on YouTube. Did he get banned on YouTube? I don't know. He got banned everywhere, right? And ultimately, what was it? Impeached, indicted, brought up to court, whatever the case is. So yeah, what a life he's lived. Nicki Minaj has a Bible signed by Trump. Now that is pretty cool. I kind of want one too now. Can I buy this? Cool. One of the most meaningful gifts I've ever received in my entire life. A Holy Bible signed by Donald Trump. Cool. Can we get one too? Like, actually, that's pretty cool. This is still going on in Iran. More protests, but this time it is between the people themselves. Potential civil war is what people are saying. There are anti-regime protesters, the ones with no flags, clashing with pro-regime crowds waving the Islamic Republic flags. This is, of course, the flag with the red symbol in the middle, not with the lion. The lion is for the people that are anti-regime. The red symbol with the swords, I think it is. I said last time it looked like a turban. I didn't know what I was talking about. I never really looked at it closely, and it kind of does from afar, okay? Give me a break. But yeah, those are the people pro-IRGC. Mass protests breaking out in Murmuri, Iran. They're chanting death to Khamenei. Hey, and in the parliament of Iran, they're also saying death to America. So, which do you prefer? Iran's regime is collapsing from the inside, while America's got them surrounded from the outside. That's what a revolution looks like in real time? Okay. Protests kicking off. U.S. military action soon. Regime forces open fire on protesters in Abdanan, Iran, because apparently peaceful protest is still a threat to them. And that's just still going on. We already kind of know the story. Now, what's interesting to know is this. Israel apparently was preparing for a U.S. attack against Iran this weekend. But towards Thursday, it became clear that it had been postponed to another date, perhaps not far away. Senior Israeli officials are talking about removing the existential threats to Israel once and for all. Lovely. So, yeah, it seems like we were originally expecting an attack on Sunday, but ultimately nobody really knows, and that leads me to this next post. Everybody is tweeting, left, right, and center, pretending to have insider information on when the United States will strike Iran and what their strategy is. I honestly, before I even read this whole post, people are just going to say all this stuff to kind of confuse everybody else so that when they actually attack, it's going to be least expected, of course. We're not going to announce how, when, and where we are going to attack Iran if we are going to do it in the first place at all. Maybe this is all just an intimidation tactic, which so far that's what it seems to have been. But if we do eventually end up attacking Iran, like I said, we're not going to be announcing it and saying, hey, we're going to do this on this day right here. Like, no, we're not going to do that. It's going to be a surprise element. Like we did to capture Maduro. It's going to be different. Here are some things you should keep in mind as you analyze all this information. Leaks are almost always intentional and used as a tool by the administration. Yep. Media headlines and tweets are always sensationalized. No one with insider information will be tweeting them out, period. Of course, you can't. It's literally classified information. The US military strategy is one of the most guarded intels in the world, so don't expect any credible leaks. Take what Trump said with a grain of salt. He's an incredible negotiator, and public statements are part of that negotiation process. No one outside Trump's inner circle knows if and when Trump will strike, and whether his strategy will be regime change or to pressure Iran for nuclear concessions. If it's regime change, we gotta really focus on who is going to replace Khamenei. And also all these talks about we're gonna assassinate Khamenei and his son. Okay. I mean, if we do, what's next? Like, what comes after this? Who are we appointing next? Is it going to be Reza Pahlavi, what is he? The king or the crown prince? Something, whatever it is. As a replacement, will he even do well? Are we going to be the ones sustaining Iran, kind of like we kind of had to do with Venezuela? Ultimately, Delcy Rodriguez has been a good woman to take over the country responsibly and under Trump's orders after we've captured Maduro in Venezuela, right? So, I don't know. What are we going to do there? No one knows exactly how much influence Israel has over this decision, and that's a massive wild card. All we know is Iran does not want this war, and they will fight till the end, as this is existential for them. Based on the military deployment alone, this looks more like a prolonged war than a limited strike. This is the biggest deployment since the 2003 Iraq War. No troops, so don't expect boots on the ground. Trump has so far been effective in resisting Israeli influence, but it's too early to tell. Arab countries do not want to see a prolonged war or regime change. Regime change will likely be disastrous for the region. Because I guess they're looking at, hey, if they can do it to Iran, who's to say they can't do it to us as well? And we are not as powerful as Iran. We are also at risk, would be what the surrounding countries are thinking. So they also do not want the war. Israel would love to see regime change. Of course, they're eliminating the biggest threat to them. And a Syria/Libya-like collapse in Iran. Literally look at how those countries are. Iran will never accept to give up its ballistic missiles, as they see this as existential for their survival, and they are probably right. Because if you do remove that, who's to say that Israel will not attempt a regime change while they are powerless as well? They would rather die trying. It only makes sense. Hezbollah will likely join the war, unlike the 12-Day War, and this would be disastrous for Lebanon. However, their capabilities have been significantly weakened, and a war with Israel would now would probably lead to their ultimate demise. So based on these facts, here are the predictions of Mario Nawfal. We will see war unless some major changes in current negotiations happen. However, it won't be... my god, this grammar. It won't be for a few weeks at the least. Trump's goal is not regime change. It's just the nuclear suppression, right? The nuclear enrichment capabilities. U.S. military strategy will involve a gradual escalation in strikes until Iran folds, and obviously Israel will join the U.S. Okay. That's this whole state of the Middle East for now. Lovely. What's going on up there in Russia, Ukraine? Well, the mayor in Lviv, Ukraine, confirms there has been a terror attack. There have been 14 people rushed to hospitals, doctors are on the scene. Lviv's mayor urges citizens to stay calm and follow only official updates. There has been a major double blast in Lviv, Ukraine. Coordinated bombs in multiple spots detonated minutes apart in a terrorist-style hit, causing mass casualties. Not cool. Double blasts. Even cops have been injured there. The second strike went off right as rescuers showed up. Wow, so they were even trying to hit the cops and emergency crew. Trump tells Ukraine and Russia, hey guys, wrap it up by June. I think this is an older post. Yeah, February 7. Zelensky says the US gave both sides a hard deadline to end the war. One of many. Do we even trust that anymore? If they don't figure it out by June, Trump plans to turn up the pressure. How? We've been pressuring forever. Meanwhile, Russia bombed Ukraine's power grid again. Ukraine hit a key Russian missile plant. They're just still going at it. And these are all older posts. So that's the whole state of the Russia-Ukraine war, if you care or asked. What is going on in Greenland? President Trump just deployed a hospital boat to Greenland to take care of their sick population, neglected by Denmark. He's trying to be the hero over there. It's on the way. Trump's winning over the people of Greenland. It's all part of the plan. Trump to the rescue. Yeah, we are trying to win them over, I guess. Trump is saying, hey, what, Denmark is not giving you enough medical supplies? Don't worry, guys. I will do it. Make sure you vote in favor of joining the United States in the future, because I'm doing what Denmark will not do for you. Because we can. Trump posted this. Nice AI image. Working with the fantastic governor of Louisiana, Jeff Landry, we're going to send a great hospital boat to Greenland to take care of the many people who are sick and not being taken care of there. It is on the way. Of course, if you got a crippling disease, and the Denmark government will not help you because I guess they cannot afford it or whatever it is, and then Trump comes to the rescue and saves your life, yeah, you will be eternally grateful to Trump. Verify this, Grok. However, no official confirmation from the US Navy, White House, or other sources indicate its actual deployment. Denmark and Greenland have protested related US moves. Yo, relax. You're getting free healthcare. Calm down. It's free, right? Right? I don't think so. Arizona Senate has passed a bill to rename a highway over there to the Charlie Kirk Highway. Cool. We're commemorating Charlie Kirk as a highway. If Arizona's governor signs the bill, the newly named Charlie Kirk Way will be 78 miles long. Is that what they're actually going to call it? The Kirk Way now? Okay. Oh, this meme. Hey, cool. Big if true, I guess. In the state of Florida, this has been going down. Some drama between the next potential governors of the state. You've got Byron Donalds, whom we've talked about in terms of insider trading. I think it's only for crypto. He only buys like Bitcoin. That's the only coverage I've done of Byron Donalds. And also James Fishback, who's been rising in popularity as well. Mainly with, I guess, the Gen Z people, showing up on a lot of famous people's streams and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, people seem to really like him, so there's that. James Fishback called out Byron Donalds today, mainly saying, Byron Donalds said I would never call him AIPAC Shakur to his face. I don't know what a Shakur is. For taking millions from AIPAC, American Israel Political Action Committee, Active Committee. What does this mean? Brother, what does it mean? Public Affairs Committee. Okay, I said political. Lovely. It's all this talk about politicians taking AIPAC money, right? I went to prove him wrong, and he tried to have me arrested. Okay, so he went there to try to say it to his face. A real black man would have stood on business. Byron equals FN. What does FN mean? I don't want to look that up. I think it's... Anyway. If it is what I think it is, that is... Okay. Moving on. Byron Donalds responds, saying, Hey, James Fishback, you're trying to call me out? Well, guess what? I heard you crashed out when I told the truth about your stupid anti-Semitic BDS plan that would take pension money from police and fire for more government handouts. You stole that plan from Kamala Harris, just like you stole your whole gimmick from Nick Fuentes, Zoran Mandami. Tell everyone the truth. 6 months ago in Madison County, oh, he's pulling out the receipts here, you had me face-to-face on stage for an hour 6 months ago. You could have asked me anything. You had a lapel mic on and recorded the whole thing. Be a man and release the tape. You won't do it because you will prove what we both know. You're no racist, you're no groper, you're no anti-Semite. You're what people hate about politics, performative slop. James is a con man. Sincerely, Florida's next governor. Wow, so he is like really calling him out here, man. So he's like, hey man, you had the chance to call me an APAC shakur, whatever this means, to my face 6 months ago. Here is photo and video evidence. Why didn't you do it? Why are you chickening out? And then James Fishback says, oh, you can't trust James Fishback? Okay. Says Byron Donalds, the adulterous former drug dealer who took $45 million from APAC and from a hedge fund billionaire in the Epstein files. LMAO, okay. I'm sure he also responded here, this one. He says, Dear Byron Donalds, that is crazy, calling him Byron. Yesterday, in Fort Myers, you had the opportunity to say all of this to my face. Instead, he's talking about the other video over here, where he is being held up by security, of course. Instead, you hid behind armed security and ordered them to arrest me if I walked in. So, you're the coward, and you're an even bigger one now. So here's my offer. Let's debate live, in person, in front of an audience, streamed directly to X in the next 21 days. May the best man win. That is a great way to do it. So I'm waiting to see... Oh, they did respond, by the way. Here it is. Florida gubernatorial candidate James Fishback has accepted an invitation from Fox News to debate Representative Byron, or is it Rep? Whatever, Byron Donalds on July 21st in Tampa, Florida. July 21st? Why so far ahead? When is the Florida elections then? When is Florida governor elections? Tuesday, November 3rd. I guess that's what midterms is, right? I don't know anything about politics. So, yeah. There you go. And thanks, Byron. Okay. Yep, that's about all that has been posted about it. So lovely drama between these two Florida governors, potential Florida governors. We'll see what eventually happens. Is there anybody else running against them? It'd be funny if they just won and beat them both. I'm assuming there would be a Democrat one. Is Byron Donalds... Byron Donalds... Is he Republican or Democrat? He is Republican. So who's the Democrat in Florida? Who is the Democratic governor nominee of Florida? Is that even the right Andrew Guillen? Yeah, whomst is this person? No idea. All right, moving on from all that. Bitcoin and crypto news. So the talks about Bitcoin is dead and Bitcoin is going to zero. The search is for that. That's going parabolic. Bottom indicator? Surely, right? This is what every retail investor is looking up right now. It's not the institutional investors looking this up. What those guys are doing is potentially silently accumulating, right? They've already sold off enough. Bitcoin fear and greed is at all-time lows, even lower than the FTX collapse and COVID. Here's where we are at today. Impressive. Hey, what was this before COVID? 2019 August. I'm assuming that's just bear market. It's gotta be, right? Yeah. That means that most of the paper hands, the weak hands, they're already gone. I agree with that. So the fear spike has faded, but caution still remains. Bitcoin options markets are cooling off, and the message is subtle but important. ATM implied volatility has compressed back toward the high 40s across the curve. That tells us the immediate panic phase is fading. The market is no longer pricing disorder in the near term. But don't confuse that with full risk on. Put demand for options still dominates the flow, which means that institutions are staying hedged even as volatility falls. This is a classic late cycle positioning when macro visibility is still cloudy and the liquidity hasn't fully turned. From a macro lens, the setup makes sense. Financial conditions remain relatively tight. The Fed path is still data dependent, and global liquidity is improving only gradually. Large players aren't chasing upside yet. They're managing risk first. So bottom line, volatility compression is a stabilization signal, not a bullish confirmation. That is why we've been seeing literally no volatility for these past few days. A breakout is bound to happen. Whether that's to the upside or to the downside, that's for you to decide. Or the markets, I guess. You have no control, neither do I. The panic trade has cooled, but conviction hasn't fully returned. Watch liquidity. That's what will flip the market. My opinion is that liquidity is already ultra high. So, come on. Why is it not flowing into the markets? That's the real question I should be getting people to ask. Because we're seeing the trillions flow in and out of gold and silver. That already happened way far in the past. We just need one of those trillions to come and duplicate the whole market cap of crypto. Or not the whole market cap. That's an exaggeration. What is the whole market cap of crypto right now? 3 trillion? Give me the big boy number. Here it is. 2.31 trillion. Yeah, literally just give us $2.5 trillion. Everything will double in price from here. Hypothetically. Only at least the important stuff will. So you know, we've seen better days. Bitcoin ETF holders are facing their first true crisis of confidence. Will they hold on or fold? Yeah, I don't know. Because this is obviously the biggest drawdown that obviously the ETFs have ever experienced ever since they've become legal in 2024, right? This is their first bear market they're going through. We'll see what happens with them. Vitalik, what? Okay. He says that if crypto keeps centering on gambling with no real-world use, the industry will die fast. Yep, we've heard him talk about this before. What else is new? I mean, this isn't really new either. He is just still dumping more Ethereum today, dumping around 285.7 ETH today, worth about 566,000. 2 swaps of 142.857 ETH each. Why are you selling? And especially at these prices. Why is he selling at these prices? The founder is literally dumping on you. And Tom Lee is just eating all of it up and staking it, which is the right thing to do. Sure. Props to him for that. But you could just do that in Bitcoin, but whatever. You already have Michael Saylor doing that. Institutions, they've been dumping $8 billion in stocks. This is baby money when it comes to stocks. Institutional investors sold more than $8 billion in equities last week, marking the second largest weekly sell-off on record. Never mind, that is actually a lot. Isn't it trillions? Don't we lose like trillions in a day? Am I just wrong? Whatever. It's not just those stocks that have been dropping off. Just general stocks, I guess. But we're also talking about cybersecurity stocks. This tweet from Claude AI has just wiped out over $15 billion from cybersecurity stocks. Yeah, you see, we just talked about $8 billion, and now it's $15 billion. What numbers am I reading? Millions of jobs and companies just got replaced by AI. What post are we talking about? We're talking about this one. Also ripped my cybersecurity degree. All of that study just for AI to take over. What a waste of my life, but that's okay. I learned what I learned. I had fun, arguably, maybe. Yeah, I think I had fun. In my own way, but whatever. Claude posted this. Introducing Claude Code Security, now in limited research preview. It scans code bases of literally anything for vulnerabilities, and it will suggest targeted software patches for human review, allowing teams to find and fix issues that traditional tools often miss. So that's the whole point of a cybersecurity analyst, is to go through, I don't know, a company or a website and see if there is any vulnerabilities, identify them, submit a report, and say, hey, look, I tried hacking into your database. You're doing a good job here. You're doing a bad job here. Here's how to fix it. You want us to fix it, pay me. Otherwise, have a great day, right? Now the AI will just do all of that for you. And it might as well just give you proposed solutions as well. Dude, you can do a lot with AI, which is great. But I don't know, people who wasted their lives studying cybersecurity, what is even the point? I guess you could just use it to your advantage and be lazier about it. Maybe it will make your job easier. But I don't know. There's going to be this mass influx of... I don't know, maybe this will be good. I'm arguing that it probably will be bad, though, because AI replace job. That's why. Cybersecurity companies' stock fall sharply as Anthropic releases Claude security tool. Shares of major cybersecurity companies nosedived on Friday after AI startup Anthropic unveiled Claude Code Security, a new AI-powered tool capable of autonomously scanning code bases for software vulnerabilities and suggesting targeted patches, sparking fears that artificial intelligence could begin displacing traditional enterprise security solutions. Anthropic announced Claude Code Security on February 19 as a new capability built directly into its Claude Code platform on the web, currently available in a limited research preview for enterprise and team customers. Coming soon to an AI near you. Literally the exact same post. As AI continues to transform both offensive and defensive cybersecurity operations, Anthropic positions Claude Code Security as a tool for defenders to stay ahead of emerging AI-enabled threats. I guess that also works, because I guess you could do the same thing and say, hey, just hack into this for me, or something. I don't know how that would work. But yeah, I also wanted to talk a bit about the economy, I guess, while we're at it. Net savings as a percent of gross national income, it's about to turn negative and stay negative for the first time since 1929, Great Depression days. The lower and middle class must now spend more than they make just to survive, and that is how recessions turn into depressions. We also have that in the background to deal with, and I guess this is also part of the issue. Top 1% of US earners now have more wealth than the entire middle class. That is how broke we all are. Lovely. Hi, Pikapooch, welcome. US market has reached its most unaffordable level in history. Good luck trying to buy a home. Yep. I'm never going to buy a home. U.S. housing market activity has rarely been weaker. So prices are at a high point, and then real estate activity is at an all-time low. What are we doing? The U.S. pending home sales index fell 0.8% month over month in January to an all-time low. This follows a revised drop in December, marking the second consecutive monthly decline. The index now stands below its October 2021 peak. I'm not reading the percentages because I don't understand them. In the South, the largest home selling region, pending sales fell to the lowest level in a year, while the Northeast also weakened. Furthermore, January contracts closing fell, leaving little evidence of a turnaround. The U.S. housing market is frozen. Do I rent or live with parents? Yeah, kind of both. Rent and live with the parents. So, yeah. That's life, though. What does this mean for the stock market? Real estate investment trusts. I love this. So the weak January pending home sales data to a record low signals ongoing housing market stagnation driven by high mortgage rates and low inventory. This may weigh on related stocks like home builders and real estate investment trusts, reflecting broader economic softness. However, major indices rose on February 19, suggesting investors are betting on potential Fed rate cuts to stimulate the growth. That is also part of the reason why we do need these rate cuts. To get the economy, to keep the money flowing, I guess. One of my favorite real estate investment trusts is Mort from Vanek. I think it's Vanek. They pay a really good dividend. I plan on like eventually making $1 million and then dropping it all in here and making passive income. 100K a year, is that what it is? How much like is your yield over here? Does it tell me? Please tell me. Dividends. I don't think it's going to tell me. That's cringe. Anyways, you'll notice that this thing stabilizes at roughly around $10. It's not been dropping. That's boring. I want to see this as low as possible to be, you know, DCAing pretty well. April 2025 was a great time to do so, and I completely missed out on the opportunity because, believe it or not, in April I did not have $1 million. I was actually suffering in the crypto market as much as you guys were. QQQI, what is that? I've never heard of it. High income ETF. What is this for? Also an investment trust. Do they also give out good dividends? 61 cents per share. That also looks like a good dividend, yeah. I guess that also works out too. ultimately it's like up to you to like decide if you do eventually, you know, have a high net worth and you want to have your wealth preserved and generate passive income from that wealth, then yeah, anyone that give a stable price, of course, and a good yield that's guaranteed to stay on for a while or a long time, of course. Yeah, ultimately it would be a great decision either way. But obviously, I haven't made my millions yet, so I have to first focus on that, focus on wealth growth, and then I'll focus on the preservation and passive income. I will obviously have to do further research into where I'm going to be dropping my money in. How frequent is this? Every month? That's not too bad. The mort that I was looking at, that's like every 3 months, I think. That's the only downside, is that the dividend payout is not that frequent. But you're getting 33 cents, and each share is like $10. Let me do the math here. Yeah, 36 cents, 26 cents. Um, is this one too risky, you think? Which one? The QQQ that you said? Or the mort? You got $1 million divided by, I don't know, $10 a share. That's 100,000 shares, and you're getting 33 cents. That's 33,000. Wait, really? No, I'm doing this wrong, am I? Oh, QQQI. I don't know. Like I said, I have to do more research on it. I haven't heard of it. Income ETF. Like, what is in this ETF? That's kind of what I do want to know. Invested in the Nasdaq 100 stocks indices and utilizes NDX call options to deliver high monthly income through dividends and option premiums. It's similar to what we see with like other Bitcoin ETFs that give like a dividend, I guess. They prioritize tax efficiency through the section. Okay, contracts benefiting from a 60/40 tax rate on a long and short-term capital gains. I guess you got to focus on like, are the dividend payouts relatively stable throughout? This does look like it has got stable dividend payouts. And it seems like it's been growing as well. Like the price is not that volatile. That's also a major thing you do have to focus on, that it doesn't become too volatile. It's been around 30 to 40, $50. That's totally fine. And overall, the growth and the long term, it's pretty decent in my opinion. Ultimately, everything is risky, but I feel like this seems to be stable. But still, I'd have to do more research on it to know for sure. Just at a first glance, though, it looks okay. Obviously, you do want something that has a lot of history as well. That's also playing a key part in these. So, yeah, that's another thing you want to pay attention to. Okay. Yeah. I don't know if I did this math right. I don't think I did, because that is a crazy payout. Last time I checked, it was... Or no, maybe I am right. Times 12. 396,000. That does not seem right. How about in here, if you also put the $1 million in here, you buy each share at, let's just say $50 if you're lucky. You get 20,000 shares, and each month you get 61 cents per share. You get $12,000. So it seems like this dividend payout is not as high as the other one, unless I did the math completely wrong. Hold on, let me redo it. Million divided by, you get $10 per share on Mort. You get 100,000 shares, okay. And each share gives you a payout. Oh, but it's in the span of 3 months. That's the difference. So it's this, divided by 3. Yeah, it's about the same. 11,000 compared to the 12,000 that I just did. That makes sense. And then, yeah, to get the annualized one, you would divide it by 12, yeah. Yeah, so they're about the same. Ultimately, it's like, it's probably better if you diversify, right? not all of your eggs in one basket, because ultimately one of the ETFs can fail and you lose your whole chunk of money, which you obviously do not want to do. You want to generate passive income. So, you'd put a bit in that one, you'd put a bit in this one. That kind of deal, I feel like, makes more sense. Obviously, researching which are the better, more stable dividend payout options. You also do have like a bunch of individual stocks if you want to do that, but I feel like it's better to generalize them with ETFs because one single stock can fail. Like, I don't know, if you want to invest in value stocks, companies that are already well established, like McDonald's, Coca-Cola, Pepsi, things that will give you a dividend payout for sure, and that those companies will not fail. Sure, that's why a lot of people do invest in them, for the dividends, right? But what if they do fail one day, right? Just saying. I don't think that they will, and that's why obviously it's got the trust of billion-dollar hedge fund managers, of course. So, yeah, it's ultimately your call. That's what I think about all it. Lovely. Wow. That's the Saturday for you. 0% movement day is crazy. But yeah. Okay, tomorrow we'll be looking at those new pivot levels. We'll be probably getting some volatility again. We will not go to war with Iran on Sunday, confirmed by me. I will not allow it. It already is Sunday over there in the Middle East. And they're not at war, last I checked. So we will be fine. Obviously that's still going to be in the background of things. It's unpredictable. We do not know when the war will happen. And, well, I mean, we're already pricing it in at this point, so the impact, it should still be there, but it will not be as big, in my opinion. We just got these tariff announcements, and markets did not even blink, surprisingly. That's what I see some people asking on Twitter, like, how is it that markets have not really moved at all with this whole tariff stuff? And I was like, my brother in Christ, we have priced in World War III. A tariff announcement is not going to spook us, especially 10, 15%. Nobody really cares. That's what I see. Okay, so yeah, that being said, I will see you guys tomorrow. Thanks guys so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and yeah, have a good rest of your evening. Bye-bye.